France and Canada have denounced as unacceptable the treatment of pro-Palestinian activists who were on board a Gaza-bound aid flotilla intercepted by Israeli naval forces. Israel's ambassadors to the countries were summoned after far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir posted a video showing himself taunting activists, kneeling on the ground with their hands tied behind their backs.
Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer is facing the biggest crisis of his leadership after Labour's bruising council election losses caused panic inside the party. As Nigel Farage and Reform UK gain ground, we examine why Starmer's authority appears to be slipping before any formal challenge has even begun, and whether Britain is entering another period of political instability. In this episode,
Board of Peace, which was founded by United States President Donald Trump in January to oversee the administration and reconstruction of the Gaza Strip, is facing a crippling cash crunch that threatens to derail its ambitious $70 BN reconstruction plan for the devastated enclave. The US-led board recently reported a critical gap between its financial commitments and actual disbursements, warning of an urgent liquidity crisis, according to the Reuters news agency.
On the agenda at this week's Russia-China summit between Presidents Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping is the long-delayed Power of Siberia 2, POS-2 project, a proposed 2,600 kilometres, 1,616-mile natural gas pipeline that would carry Russian gas from Western Siberia through Mongolia to China. On Wednesday, the two countries said they had reached an understanding about the route and construction of the pipeline, but other details have yet to be negotiated.
at least 8 people have been killed in Israeli attacks on southern Lebanon in the latest violation of an ongoing ceasefire agreement, according to Lebanon's state-run national news agency, NNA. Israeli fighter jets struck in the village of Duer on Wednesday, killing 5 people and injuring 2 others, NNA reported. Several homes were flattened in the attack, the agency said.
Enterprise software giant Intuit is letting go 17% of its staff, or about 3,000 people, as it seeks to divert resources towards baking in AI into its products, Reuters reported, citing an internal memo sent to employees. The memo by CEO Sasan Goudarzi said the layoffs are meant to reduce complexity by simplifying the company's corporate structure and help it focus on AI efforts, according to Reuters.
President Trump's namesake cell phone provider and smartphone maker Trump Mobile is leaking customer data, including mailing addresses and email addresses, according to reports. On Tuesday, YouTubers CoffeeZilla and Penguin Zero, who both said they ordered Trump Mobile's gold-coloured T1 phone, said they had been alerted by a researcher who found the exposed data online.
Pakistan's food imports during the first 10 months of the current financial year increased by 13.81% compared with the corresponding period of last year, according to the Pakistan Bureau of Statistics. During July-April FY26, food commodities worth $7.848 billion were imported, compared with $6.898 billion during the same period of the previous fiscal year.
The government of Sindh has announced another phase of its pink EV scooter scheme aimed at improving mobility and transportation facilities for women across the province. According to a statement issued by the Sindh Information Department, pink electric scooters will be distributed in Hyderabad on May 22 under the provincial government's Women-Focused Transport Initiative.
Israel's far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir posted a video on Wednesday showing detained activists from a Gaza-bound flotilla kneeling with their hands tied behind their backs and foreheads on the ground. The footage, published on Ben-Gvir's account and captioned "Welcome to Israel," shows dozens of activists on the deck of a military boat with the Israeli national anthem blaring, with an Israeli flag, where the minister is seen waving an Israeli flag.
Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps threatened Monday to impose permits on submarine fibre optic cables passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Here is what you need to know about cable infrastructure in the region and how the threats could play out.
Former US Congressman Barney Frank, who famously took on Wall Street and made himself one of the first known openly gay representatives, died on Tuesday night, US media reports. He was 86. Frank, who represented southern Massachusetts in the House of Representatives for over 3 decades, had been living in hospice care at his home in Maine since April.
Russian President Vladimir Putin and his Chinese counterpart, Xi Jinping, have signed a joint declaration following their meeting in Beijing, focusing on building a multipolar world and a new type of international relations. The two countries also announced that they had signed a large package of deals, solidifying bilateral cooperation as President Donald Trump completed his ask after United States President Donald Trump for a 2-day summit with Xi. We-day summit, Xi, with Xi.
Stability AI, the company behind Stable Diffusion, is releasing a new family of audio models called Stability Audio 3.0. The top model can generate professional-grade music of more than 6 minutes long, the company claimed. The company is releasing 4 new models under the Stable Audio 3.0 name. 459M parameters, small 459M parameters, medium 1.4B parameters, and large 2.7B parameters. The duo of small models is suitable for on-device sound and music generation of up to 2 minutes. Yesterday's big news was Google's plan to blow up its traditional search in favor of an AI-powered experience. But Google isn't the only company planning for the next generation of discoverability. This morning, Bloomberg has news of the Andreessen-backed Exa Labs, which has raised $250 million against a $2.5 billion valuation to go after the same market. And it's part of a wave of startups all chasing AI search, which has quietly become one of the most attractive targets in consumer AI.
The Federal Directorate of Education has announced Eid-ul-Azha and summer holidays for educational institutions operating under its ambit in Islamabad. According to an official notification issued on May 20, all institutions working under the Federal Directorate of Education will observe holidays from May 25 to July 31, 2026. Classes will resume on August 3, 2026.
Scientists have successfully created a chicken into the world using an artificial egg for the first time, marking a major breakthrough that could help future efforts to revive extinct bird species such as the giant moa. The development was announced by Colossal Biosciences, which said live chicks were grown inside a capsule designed to function like an artificial egg. The capsule featured a glass top, allowing scientists to monitor the chick's development over several weeks.
Pakistan Customs has intensified its anti-smuggling campaign nationwide, seizing illegal goods worth $718 billion over the past 2 weeks as part of a coordinated crackdown launched under directives from the federal government and the Federal Board of Revenue, according to the Office of the Chief Collector Customs Enforcement. Islamabad, the seizures were carried out by 9 customs enforcement collectorates across the country. Gadani reported the highest recoveries worth Rs 853 million, followed by Sargodha with Rs 700 million and Quetta with 693 million in confiscated goods.
In a tent in southern Gaza, Najia Abulahia mourns not only her husband, but also their failure to make the pilgrimage to Mecca, or Hajj, together before he died a year ago because of war and border closures. Before the Israeli invasion of 2023, at least 3,000 Gazan pilgrims made the Hajj every year. The signing of a ceasefire in October that halted major fighting raised Palestinian hopes for renewed travel, but they have been dashed by continued heavy restrictions on movement.
Islamabad. The Supreme Court on Wednesday issued notices to the accused in an honour-killing case involving a young woman from Rawalpindi who was murdered after a jirga rejected her choice of marriage. A three-judge Supreme Court bench headed by Chief Justice of Pakistan Yahya Afridi and comprising Justice Muhammad Shafi Siddiqui and Justice Miangal Hassan Aurangzeb issued notices on an appeal filed by the Punjab Prosecution Department against the Lahore High Court. LHC Rawalpindi bench's order granting bail to members of a jirga, including Zafarullah and Rafiqat Mahmud, on February 9, 2026.
Karachi. A sessions court in Karachi handed double 15-year sentences to a cleric on Wednesday after finding him guilty of sexually abusing two of his students at a madrasa in the city's Landi area. Additional district and sessions judge Nasir Noor Khan announced the verdict against Qari Mohammed Anwar, whose sentences will run concurrently in two cases of sexual abuse.
The United States has imposed sanctions on 4 activists involved in flotilla missions seeking to break Israel's 19-year siege on Gaza, home to 2.3 million people, most of them displaced by Israel's genocidal war on the enclave. The sanctions were announced on Tuesday after at least 430 activists were abducted during Israeli interceptions of aid ships heading towards Gaza, which has been facing shortages of food and other necessities due to Israeli curbs on aid deliveries into the enclave.
Israeli lawmakers have voted to advance a bill that would dissolve parliament and pave the way for early elections. In a preliminary reading on Wednesday, 110 out of 120 lawmakers voted in favour and none against, while the rest did not cast their votes.
The number of suspected Ebola cases in Democratic Republic of the Congo and Uganda has risen to 600, with 139 suspected deaths. The World Health Organization has said the WHO Emergency Committee met in Geneva on Wednesday, where Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus confirmed to reporters that the virus remains a public health emergency of international concern, but not a pandemic emergency.
New York City hotel operators and unions have reached an 8-year labour deal covering about 25,000 workers, averting a strike over wages, workloads and staffing levels that had threatened to disrupt the city before the FIFA World Cup, said the head of the Hotel Association of New York City, Vijay Dandapani. The association's president and chief executive said on Tuesday that the mood among owners was overall positive after weeks of negotiations, though the industry made significant concessions. North Korea's first sport team to visit the South in 8 years has reached the Asian Women's Champions League final with Naegohyang Women FC's 2-1 win over Suwon FC Women. Naegohyang came from behind to defeat their rivals from the South amid torrential rain in Suwon on Wednesday in a hard-fought semi-final played in a fair spirit without any major flashpoints.
GitHub, the popular developer platform owned by Microsoft, confirmed it was hacked and attackers had stolen data from around 3,800 internal code repositories. The code hosting and sharing giant said in a series of posts on X that it has no evidence of impact to customer information stored outside of GitHub's internal repositories, but noted its investigation was ongoing. GitHub said it detected and contained a compromise of an employee device involving a poisoned VS Code extension, referring to a plugin for Visual Studio Code, a popular code editor that developers use for programming.
Your shot at VC access, global visibility, TechCrunch coverage, and $100,000 in equity-free funding is gone in a week. Battlefield 200 applications close May 27. If you're building a breakout startup or know a founder who is, this is the moment to act. NanoCo, the company behind security-focused OpenClaw alternative NanoClaw, has raised an oversubscribed $12 million seed round following a viral launch. Its founders tell TechCrunch the funding was led by Valley Capital Partners and saw participation from Docker Vercel, Monday.com, Slow Ventures and angels like Clem DeLange, CEO of Hugging Face.
A bill to provide for the constitution and regulation of the Pakistan Water and Power Development Authority Security Force, titled the WAPDA Security Force Bill 2026, was introduced in the National Assembly on Wednesday. The bill was moved by Federal Minister for Water Resources Mohammed Muin Wattu.